Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How is everyone? I wish I could see your faces. Up there's Erica.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. There's Courtney. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Hello. Hello.
Hi,
And
Mary.
hi, Deidre. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Nice to see you.
It's good to see you.
Welcome back.
I'm so excited.
That's awesome. Well, we are so excited also. So, the Mutual Excitement Society.
Good, 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 good.
Sorry to keep you guys waiting. I'm like, oh, I've got 10 minutes. And then before I knew it, it's at 11 o'clock. So here we go. Thank you guys so much for being here. How has Ignite been so far?
It's been great.
Yeah?
Yeah, very informative, lots of ideas, and I've got all my wheels are turning, so it's been really good.
That's awesome. Do you mind sharing what your wheels are turning about and what kind of has been your biggest aha up to this point?
Gosh, I think one of my biggest aha is just creating a bigger database, and not just, clients, but that there's all these different vendors and lenders and your hairstylist to your dentist, and that there's so many resources out there for you that to take advantage of being connected in the community, and just being a resource for people. I think has been the biggest thing for me, and it's been just really great to hear from the different leaderships within KW, and just their experiences and what they did, and it's good. So
That's awesome. That is fantastic. And I think, just from my personal experience, I've been in this business a long time, and I learned mostly trial by fire. So I go back and I think, gosh, had I had the opportunity to be exposed to, these really talented people who all have kind of I think you'll see that there's a common thread to the success. However, everybody has a little different approach and a little different niche that they go after. Boy, what a difference it would have made. So good. I'm so glad you recognize that.
yes.
How about you, Courtney? Welcome. Is this is this everything you thought it was going to be, or is it a little bit different from your previous industry?
Well, it's definitely different from my previous industry, but in a good way. I'm excited. It's definitely been a process of, setting all of the things up because there's so many things to be doing. I'd say my biggest aha so far would be kind of the ideas as far as reaching out to people in your community, people in your sphere. I just feel like we've had a lot of good feedback on ways to connect and reach people.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think, I always liken getting a real estate license to when our kids have graduated from college and then they're kind of like, okay. I'm like, well, they're not coming after you. Okay. You need to go out and tell people you're there and that you're qualified for the job. And it's really what we do almost every day, isn't it? We're just constantly applying for jobs. We're applying for the job to help somebody buy or sell their home. So yeah, that's awesome. We've got to get the word out. How about you, Deidre? Welcome back. And what is your biggest aha in this journey?
Follow the process, period. Just follow the process. Don't jump ahead. Don't think you know a better way. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Just follow the process. And I think that's what was one thing that was mentioned in the MREA was, until you know what's going on, and until you lay that foundation, don't try to do things differently. Just follow the process and have trust and faith in the process, and it'll come. So that's my biggest
Yes.
aha.
I love it. I love it. Hi, Lisa. Welcome.
Hi,
I know you
everybody.
were there. I couldn't see your face. So, how about you? What has been your greatest aha about not only what you've learned, but just, I guess, what you know about the industry to this point?
Um, piggybacking on what's already been said, it is just following the process, staying focused, reaching those goals. We've talked a lot about in past Ignites and classes about having your why and understanding that your goals, um, as little as they may be, every step of the way gets you to that why. And sometimes that why changes, and that's okay. But you've, like Deidre said, you've laid the foundation, and those goals that you reach, lead the way to any why.
I love it. I love it. Those are, I'm so glad you guys are mentally at this point, because it takes some rockheads like, like I was 27 years ago getting into this business. It took me a while to understand that. However, I've had the privilege of coaching a number of people in their real estate careers, not only at Keller Williams, but when I had my own brokerage too. And the common thread, and I think what you probably heard and what you'll continue to hear, is it's the consistency, right? It's just small incremental improvements day in, day out. And, there's a great quote that I have hanging in my office, and it's a 1%, 1% more effort every day, right? Just 1%. At the end of a year, will be a 37% increase, right? So if you today tried to do 37% more, you probably could, but would you be able to sustain that on Thursday and then on Friday and then through the weekend? No. And that's what happens with all of us, right? And we get all excited and then we kind of fall off the wagon, and then we're like, oh, it didn't work anyway. But to Deidre's point, follow the process, give it time, employ the incremental improvements in your life, in your business every day, and you have absolutely no chance of anything but success. And that, I think, is what's so exciting. So cool. Well, as I mentioned, I've been licensed a long time. I spent the bulk of my career in upstate New York owning my own brokerage, and I have a lot of experience in a lot of different areas. However, also have an awful lot to learn because the industry continues to evolve. Just as an aside and as a personal note, I'm here for you guys. If you have questions, if you need help with things, if you just need a different perspective on something, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I've done everything from regular residential sales. I've represented large groups of investors. I've owned more than 100 rental properties. I rehab and resell. I coach, and most of all, I love residential real estate. I just love being a part of people's lives and their journey. So, like I said, I'm a resource for you. We'll never proclaim to have all the answers, but I've had enough experience that I can usually work my way through a problem with you, or at least get you in the right direction of somebody who's best suited for it. So what we're going to talk about today is setting goals. So how many of you have set your goals for 2021? Yeah. Okay. So, all right. And it's kind of challenging in a sense. It can be a little frightening, right? Because once we write it down, it's there. But I'm going to encourage all of you to do that. And we're going to have a little reward process for this session. If you don't have it right now, it's okay. But we're going to do some talking about some of the books that we really rely heavily on at Keller Williams. One is the MREA. The other is The One Thing. And I think The One Thing is going to be most relevant to today's discussion. If you don't have the book, you will get a copy of that book from me personally, simply by sharing your goals with me. Okay. If you already have that book and there's another in the series that you'd like, MREA, hold, MREA investor, whatever it is, you let me know and that book will be yours. Okay. Because I really want to see you commit to a goal. In my life, I can go back and tell you that just simply by writing, your goal down, you have I've lost the statistic, but just by the mere exercise of writing your goal down, you have something like a 46% higher chance of achieving it than by not writing it down. Then when we go into writing it down with a plan, that boosts up into, the 76, and then the more detailed the plan, you're in the 90% chance of achieving your goal. So that's how important this exercise really is. And even more important, however, than writing your goal down is knowing what you're going to do daily to achieve that goal. Does that make sense? It's like, I'm just going to go to diet because I don't care. I know that we have mostly women on this call, but men too. Oh, I want to lose 15 pounds, right? So we say it. What do we have to do to really get that into action?
Got to do the work.
Yeah, got to create a plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need to know, like, if it's going to include exercise, what does that look like? If it's going to include a change of our eating habits, what's that going to look like? So we have to create a plan. And that's really what today's session is about, is how do we create that plan? And I think one of the things that was probably the most eye-opening for me, because I came from kind of a smaller town where real estate was done a little bit different. Like, we didn't have information on demand like we have today, right? Like, I'm not even sure I had a computer in my first office. Like, it was that long ago. But now we have information on demand, and we know that we need to be constantly in front of people who might be thinking about buying or selling real estate, which requires us to do what every single day? What's the one theme that I'm sure you've heard from everybody?
Lead generation.
Lead generation. Yep. What does that mean to you guys?
Making contacts, getting, meeting your haven't met yet, and reaching out to people that you have met, and getting referrals, and getting it out there that you're in real estate. It's just, you've got to find a buyer, find a seller. You just got to dig until you find it, basically.
Absolutely. And you get out and you talk to people. And if you're not talking to them with a two-way conversation, you're getting in front of them either, via social media, via organizations that you're a part of. And I think the biggest word that you might want to write down and kind of keep in mind, and Erica, I think you touched on it, is come from contribution with everybody you come in contact with. If you come from that mindset and that heart of giving and contribution, people will be much more inclined to want to get to know you and to hear what you have to say. So I'm gonna share the PowerPoint here that I have, and we're gonna go through this. But I really want this to be interactive, and I want you guys to feel confident, unmuting yourself, asking questions, because this is about learning. And I know for me, when I'm just talked at, I don't learn as much as when I get the opportunity to interact. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the PowerPoint up because I think it's a good guide. And then we're going to hop off as we need to. So there we go. Share screen. There we go. All right. Can you guys see that okay? Let me see
Yes.
if I can get us. I I don't know if my view impedes your view or if you have your own settings for that. Okay. So one of the things that I really admire about Gary Keller is while the man is a complete icon in the real estate industry, he's also incredibly humble. And when he went to write The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, by the way, a show of hands, who's read it? Parts of it even.
I'm in the
Deidre?
process.
Okay, all right. Who's heard of it?
I have it on
Okay.
Audible. I
Okay.
haven't really started it too much though.
Okay. It is literally the Bible for our industry. And like I said, if you don't have it and that's what you choose, let me know because you'll get a hard copy of it. But he went about writing The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, not with this goal of him telling agents what to do based on his experience. He actually went out and he interviewed millionaire real estate agents who were making $1 million a year. And this was back in the early 2000s. So that was not as though it's not a lot of money today. It was even more money then in today's dollars. So, and he found the common thread of what agents did every day to make them successful. And this is really what it comes down to. What successful agents do every day. They grow their business by lead generating for buyers and sellers. They make seller listing presentations to get listings. They make buyer presentations to get listings, and they preview real estate. That's what they do every day. When you look at that, is there any part of that you say, yeah, I get it in writing, I get the list, but how do I do it? Does anybody feel that way? No, you're all cool with that. You kind of feel that way, Courtney?
I mean, maybe a little bit. There's just, I feel like there are just so many things to do. It's hard to kind of pick what to do first.
Yep. Okay. And you're absolutely right. And that so many things to do doesn't go away. I'm here to tell you. So what helps alleviate that will be the systems that you employ. Okay, that will help keep you on schedule. Has anybody felt that they wanted to get into real estate, not only because it seems like a fun career from the outside, but it affords you a fair amount of freedom and flexibility? Somewhat, I'm seeing some nods. Okay. I will just tell you from my experience that yes, that's true. You know, it's true. However, it's sometimes that freedom and flexibility that ushers people right out of the business, because when we have a regular job, right, we show up at, well, in the old days before pre-COVID, we showed up at our office and we knew exactly what we had to do, or we were on a sales team with an organization and we knew who we were going to call on that day, who our accounts were. But in real estate, it's kind of tricky. And that's why today we're going to talk about creating that plan. So every day you guys know what you need to do. And you also need to build in time off for yourself, because that's really super important, because what we do requires a lot of energy and a lot of brain power and a lot of emotional energy. So growing the business is really going to start with that lead generation. So Courtney, when you say there's so much to do you mind sharing with us like what that means to you?
I guess what I meant is each process takes so much time, and I want to be like 5 steps ahead, and I know I will get there eventually. I'm just being impatient with myself, I guess. I mean, I'm still so new in setting up these things that I want to be successful already, but I know that there's so many steps for me to take to get there.
Right. And you are successful already. You're successful as a brand new agent. Keep that in mind, right? Mm-hmm. And the big difference here, and this is where you're going to see the difference in people's level of success. you're kind of all at the same level, right? Somebody might have come in with one or two people who they knew wanted to buy or sell with them, and that's awesome. Okay, that's great. The difference is going to be who creates the systems, who works the systems and the process, and then you're going to see that business snowball. And so it might start with 15 transactions your first year, and then for those people who continue to work the system, that often leads to 25 or 30. And then that 30, like that third year, is when you really see the exponential explosion in your business. And while it's happening, it never seems to be happening fast enough. And you'll hear the term, not only from KW, but all over the place. It's slowly and then it's suddenly. And when you think about that, just kind of keep in mind, I like to use Justin Bieber as the example. You know, he came on the scene, you know, as a young man, and people really thought he was like an overnight success, right? Like, oh my gosh, this kid out of Canada, he's just, and the reality is he'd been performing, you know, since he was like 4 years old, you know, in churches and in local communities. And so while, yes, he made it really big, it was a process and a journey, and it'll be the same for you guys. So, all right. So what successful agents do every day, we talk about growing your business, and then we talk about running your business. Right now, running your business may seem like something that's way out there, okay, that it's a ways in your future. However, it's really important, and you have this unique opportunity right now to create your daily habits and your plans, so that when your business starts to build, so when you have 3 or 4 people in contract at the same time, you don't feel like you're spiraling out of control, okay? And that is going to be your process on how you market your seller listings, how you show buyers houses, how do you schedule your time to do that? How will you negotiate contracts? What will that look like? Transaction management to closing, vendor management, setting your goals, compliance and risk management, attending training to get coaching and manage your money. All right, so here we are, we're attending training and getting coaching today, and you're doing it all through the Ignite series, so that's awesome. So today specifically, we're going to talk about the lead generation for your buyers and sellers, setting your goals, and again, we're in this training program together. So let's talk about goals. So if you don't have a piece of paper, and it doesn't have to be anything fancy, it can be just a piece of scratch paper. Have you taken a moment to envision your big life? Yep. If you could just jot that down, and even if you don't want to write down what that big life looks like in detail right now, can you just write down, envision your big life? Does anybody want to read the quote on the screen for us?
I'll do it. Who we are and where we want to go determine what we do and what we accomplish.
Who we are and where we want to go determine what we do and what we accomplish. It's really simple, but it's pretty powerful if you think about it, right? Do you guys think that people get into real estate because they, A, think it's fun, and B, think that they can earn a lot more money in real estate than they can in other industries? Yeah, it's true. I mean, it's 100% true. 100% true. And you can do it all with, 18, a GED, and real estate school. I mean, it is the most amazing industry in the whole world. Do you think there are a lot of people who think that that process might be easy and become easily disillusioned? Mm-hmm. That it's kind of, wow, it's a pretty big playing field out there, and maybe I didn't know how big the playing field was, right? Yeah. The cool thing is in Columbus, Ohio, there is so much business for all of us. You know, we may never cross paths with one another in competing for a listing or competing for a buyer or even doing a transaction together, because there's so much opportunity that I want you guys to put those horse blinders on and just think about who we are and where we want to go. Okay. And then we're going to set that course so we can accomplish it. So then we get the opportunity to take a look at this chart. And sometimes I'm a bit of a rockhead. I'm just going to throw it out there. Like I can look at this stuff and say, yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. And then one day I suddenly really get it. So I'm hoping you guys are smarter than I am, because the sooner this really sinks in, I think the easier it will be to really understand why following the process is so important. So you see here, we've got thinking on one axis and time and effort on the other. And our actions are really the one thing that's going to dictate what the outcome is going to look like. Okay, we're going to take luck out of this, okay, because there's going to be luck for a number of us, right? We're going to get lucky and we're going to have a friend or a family member who wants to buy a big house, right? So that will happen from time to time. But can any of you tell me like a time in your life, it doesn't have to be real estate related, where either of these were true, that the bigger your actions, the bigger the outcome, or the smaller your actions, the smaller the outcome?
I mean, I can equate that to, I'm trying to think of something that's outside of real estate, but like losing weight. There was one year I had a big motivation. I don't need to go into my whole backstory, but my husband and I were trying to have children. I was having some struggles with that. And I lit a fire under my butt and said, I'm going to be in the best shape possible to become pregnant. And so in that year, those big actions to lose 30 pounds versus years before were, if I lose it, I lose it. I don't, so yeah, that's something I'm thinking. Hopefully
That's
what you're looking
huge.
for.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That is absolutely amazing. And that's exactly it. That's exactly it. And you had a big goal, right? You had a big why, a big goal.
Yes.
Thank you. That's awesome. Anybody else? I think you can all say real estate school. I mean, again, I didn't necessarily need to be about real estate, but I think you can all say you had to take a big action, right, to get your outcome, to be able to get your license. So you've all done that. How about the small outcomes? And for me, it's stuff that I want to care more about, but truly I don't. And that's what it boils down to, right? I want to care more about getting my Christmas decorations down, for example, and I really don't. So therefore there's very little action and there's no outcome. Okay. Maybe they'll be here when the next season rolls around. But the other thing is going to be, sometimes that's a personal desire. Sometimes the other piece of it is it's taking us out of our comfort zone, right? And so the more uncomfortable we are, the smaller the actions can be. Does that resonate with anyone? Yeah. All right, fair enough. So when we talk about your big life, and this is where I'd love for you guys just to take some notes, and what you choose to share with me after this session is entirely up to you. But I really want you guys to take some time to think about what that big life looks like. And on the PowerPoint, they have an illustration here. And they put this dollar amount that they intend to earn, okay? And then it's very specific about what they're going to do with those funds, And the more specific you can be, the more likely, again, you are going to be to achieve your goal. So in this case, this person wants to earn a gross income of 364,000, might be a net, I don't know. They want to donate 5,000 of it to a cat habitat. They want to get their kids through school debt free, and they feel that's going to be 120,000. Oh, sorry about that. They want to pay off a mortgage of 18,000. And then there's some other things. So do you guys all have items like this that you can think about in your life? It doesn't have to be these items, but causes that you care about, financial goals. Maybe you have some debt that you'd like to get out of. Maybe you have some debt you'd like to incur. Maybe you want to buy an income property or buy a house. So I'm just going to give you, just maybe like 2 minutes right here to just think about some of the big life. Might be travel. Might be meeting someone, a new friend, a significant other. It doesn't all have to have a financial equation to it. All right, I'll give you guys another 30 seconds to finish that up, and you can certainly go back to this. This is kind of short notice to sit down and think about that big life, but this is a really good exercise to revisit regularly. The power of personal visualization is, I've seen it so many times firsthand in my life. I don't even know that I'm doing it. And then, it does, and usually it doesn't happen for years, right? It doesn't happen. Then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh my gosh, I am living exactly what I visualized for myself. So just bringing yourself back to it over and over again. I had a similar situation, Eric, I guess maybe somewhat similar, but I too was struggling with pregnancy losses and getting pregnant and things like that. So there was an opportunity when I was back in New York to take a look at this house. And my husband was the real estate broker, and he wanted me to go look at this house with And I'm like, I don't need to go. I mean, you go do that listing presentation. And he's like, no, just come. They want to meet you. They want to see you. Well, it happened to be the house that I fell in love with. Like, it was just like, it was ugly. It needed a lot of updating, but it was perfect for what I wanted. Anyway, we had a house. So I'm like, okay, well, got to go full steam ahead. And we weren't in a market like it is today, right? It actually took some time for houses to sell then. And so I've always had, I have a Catholic upbringing. Okay. So praying to saints and things is something very real in my world. So St. Joseph has always been known to be the home seller. Okay. So I planted the St. Joseph in my front yard, and I prayed for two things, least of all being the house to sell, but I prayed for a baby. And on like the seventh day, not only did my house sell, I the following week found out that I was expecting, and he turned 21 just this past summer. So it prayer is often, people have different perceptions of it, but it's a part of visualization. So whatever your method is, I'm not trying to promote, that to anybody, but just keep in mind that having something that you're really focused on is really, really powerful. So that's my little story. All right. So understanding your goal. This is really going to be the next part that isn't sometimes always as much fun, because we often look at this big number of what we earn, right? So we know we can do 3% of just about any calculation, can't we? Right. So we know what we're going to earn on average. And in our market center, the average selling price is pushing upwards close to $300,000. Okay. And that easy math is $9,000 commission. So people see that and automatically think that agents sometimes get a little misguided thinking that that's all theirs, and forgetting to think about the expenses associated with their business, income taxes that they will owe, expenses to their brokerage, and then expenses to help grow their business. And then of course, saving for months that aren't maybe as fruitful. So where does it go? So this series, this session of Ignite is, forgive me if some of it seems a little remedial, but I do think it's a really good reminder. So we know that with our commission, some will go to another agent in the transaction. Okay, so that's the whole commission. We'll split it with another agent, whether we're the buyer's agent or the listing agent. The market center is going to take their percentage toward cap. We have expenses, and then we have our take home. And so it kind of looks like this. Here's the other agent, right? It's that 50-50. Then the market center. Then you're going to have some business expenses. And then you end up with what's left over, which is your take home pay. It's not as fun. It's not as exciting as looking at that whole total number. However, it's reality. And so, as we mentioned, I'll use 300,000 just because it's an easy figure. The average gross income is close to $9,000 in our market center. And then when you have your market center, we have company dollar that we have to meet. And in our market center, it's 20,000 for an independent agent. And then we have the franchise royalty. So that goes to Keller Williams International. And that franchise royalty helps the funding for international to continue to provide us with the education, continue to grow the company, the brand recognition, all that good stuff. So we have an average, or we have a total business expense of 23,000 right away. Right. While we may not pay the whole 20 and we may not pay the whole 3, the goal is certainly that you will, because that's what you're going to need to do to catapult yourself really to the next level and layer of success. Oops. So here we go, looking at our net income goal. Did many of you come into this business with the thought of earning $100,000? I hear it all the time. So that's why I ask. It just seems to be the number that most agents have in their mind coming into the business. And you know what? It's a fantastic goal, and it's super realistic. Okay. Just takes some work to get there. So if we know that our company dollar and our royalty cap is 23,000, and we're going to expect some business expenses of 50,000. Now that might be a little heavy there. Oh, I didn't correct this slide. That would be $173,000 that you'll need to earn, with an average gross commission income of 9,000, means you'll need to do 20 transactions your first year. Now there's some variables there, right? Your average GCI might be lower than that, right? And it might be higher than that, just depending on where you're working. So you're going to really want to think about what your business is going to look like. And I would be sure you're using, if your net income goal is 100,000, always add your company dollar and royalty cap on top of that. And then factor in business expenses, whatever that's going to look like. So that's everything from your signs to your MLS dues, to your gas and automobile usage. Keep all of that in mind, because at the end of the year, if you're not keeping track of these things, you will wish you had, because you'll be scrambling for your accountant or whomever does your tax preparation. So this is real basic, and I don't know that it has to get too far beyond that, especially right now. The other place that you can do this is in Command and in Kelly. Has anybody taken the time to set their goals in Command? No. Does anybody see any benefit of doing that? Why would that be helpful?
You'll see it every day when you go into Command.
Yes, thank you. And I love the everyday in Command. Thank you. That is so important. Yes, it's going to be there glaring at you. How quickly do you think you're going to be eager to update that when you get a buyer signed, or when it's like having a list, right? Like being able to cross things off when you've completed it. But this is just getting closer and closer to your goal. So this is a really powerful tool. And, one of the things I love is the amount of time and effort that Keller Williams has put into developing the technology. And, I'll be the first to say we're far from perfect, but boy, we're amazing. And I have used a lot of real estate technology over the years. This just gets better and better every day. So you'll see here that you can put the year that you're setting the goal for, what your profit goal is, what you expect your expenses will be, and what percentage listings and buyers you'll be, okay? And then it's just going to keep tracking you. So one of the things you guys can do, if you prefer doing everything right here, which I would love to see, you can, to earn your book of choice, you can even just take a screenshot of this and share it with me, and I'll make sure you have all my contact information after we're done today. All right. So doing the right activities. This is really where we're going to kind of spend the rest of our session, and we'll probably go until I'm thinking maybe 12:30ish. So if it's okay that we don't stop for a break, then my goal will be to wrap things up. But if you feel you need a break, that's okay too. Just let me know. Okay, I can go either way. But doing the right activities, 20% of our effort will result in 80% of our results. It's just Pareto's rule. It holds true in almost every area that you can imagine. So let's talk about this, and I'm going to encourage you guys all to answer this question for me. What is the one thing you can do right now that would make everything else easier or unnecessary? And I'm framing this around your real estate business. And just take a minute to think about it, but it's the one thing that if you could do it right now, it would make everything else easier. And I'm not talking about a wish. I'm talking about an activity, an action that you can do.
I think implementing processes.
Processes, okay? And tell me about what that means to you.
That is automating as much as I possibly can, whether that's using a smart plan for new leads, using all the tools that are available to us to automate as much as possible.
So smart plans for leads. Awesome. Okay.
I also use in Command for my social media posts. I do all of those at one time, so they're automated. I don't need to think about them, which keeps me consistent with the posting. So it's not, back here in my mind, oh my gosh, today's the day that I need to post. It's just automatically done.
That is fantastic. So can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like, do you do that once a week, once a month? How do you, can you just tell us more about it?
I started out by putting in all the holidays because it seems like on a holiday, you're wrapped up in the holiday, Christmas, New Year, whatever. You don't have time on that day to do it. So I did all the holidays for the year. Well, for about 6 months, I haven't got the whole year done. Then I decided that I was going to post to Facebook Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I went in and did all the Mondays for this month. So I sat down one day and did all the Mondays. So now I've got Wednesday and Fridays to do, and I'm just trying to, because we have so many classes, and I'm really trying to get my database built up. If I have 5 or 10 minutes, then I'm going ahead and just, creating something in Canva or however I'm doing it so that I can get ahead on those things. 5 minutes
Right.
here, 5 minutes there. Like for instance, we had 10 minutes between between Rachel's or Joanne's presentation and your presentation. So I just took that 10 minutes and created something.
That's awesome. This is the kind of stuff I'm talking about, guys. That is awesome, Lisa. And going back to just when you sat down and you did the Mondays, how much time did that take?
Half an hour. It didn't take long
Half
at
an
all.
hour.
It depends on if you're just creating a post or if you can see I'm in my craft room, so I'm a little crafty. So yeah, I can get down a rabbit hole with creating things. If you're going into Canva and you're creating things, going to the internet and grabbing pictures off, those things take a little bit more time. But if it's just a straight comment or something like that, or a quick video, those take 3 or 4 minutes to do.
That's awesome. Now, what have you, first of all, how long have you been licensed?
Since November.
Awesome. And how have you seen engagement with people who follow you on social media? Have you noticed anything yet? I mean, it's still soon with your posts.
Yeah.
And
I invited everyone that I am friends with on Facebook to join my realtor page. And I'd say about half of them have. And so, just engaging with them, asking people to share on the side, say, hey, share, can you share this with your friends, that type of thing, just to help starting it, getting it growing.
I love it. That is awesome. So implementing processes, which it sounds like you've already done, but you want to do you want to do more. So we've got the process for social media. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of those others. So that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? The one thing.
For me, it's getting a schedule together and sticking to it.
Okay. And what's been your challenge thus far with that?
I mean, I think I'm really good at putting a schedule together. But then being intentional with that time and saying, okay, this time is for this, and not letting an email, come up, or, a text from someone that's like, there's an emergency and da 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 da. And I do have children now. So,
Yay.
yeah. So I did end up having twin boys. So, yeah, I got blessed with two.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, so just letting distractions come into play. And I think that's definitely been a struggle for me.
Okay. You're not alone. You're not alone. Um, what we like to do, most of us, we're inclined to solve problems, right? We like solving
Mhm.
problems. We actually kind of like the emergency text because we get to the other stuff is kind of boring, right? But this we get to go help, we get to fix something, we get to solve. So you're certainly not alone, but we'll talk about things you can do. And it takes practice, right? The notion that you're just going to, some people have the ability to just flip a switch in their brain. And most of us don't, though. We have to practice it, and we have to track our progress, just like many other things that we do to, in terms of self-improvement, and kind of even thinking about, like, even think about home improvement projects, right? Does it happen? Like, do you say, I want to paint the whole house and tomorrow it's done? No, you put a plan together, right? And you might have to put a budget together for buying the materials. So good. How about you, Courtney?
The schedule was really, I would say, the biggest thing for me and sticking to it. Probably my biggest weakness is procrastination, saying, oh, I can put something off until tomorrow. And I have to kind of combat that. I bought myself a planner. I have been blocking things off with specific goals, and honestly, it's made a world of difference in my life. I'm not flawless yet, but I've come a long way, even in 2 weeks of just using it. So that's kind of
That's
how
incredible.
I think physically writing it down and being able to check things off and see it in front of me is really something that I need, and is important for me to stay organized and on track.
That's awesome. Good for you. Can I ask what kind of planner? Was it anything
Yeah, of course.
special? Or?
I'm the kind of person who, even if it's a small purchase, I look at a million options, look at reviews. I deep dive into my purchases, and just this planner, and it has like weekly and monthly goals, and you can just, every day has its own page with a to-do list and a schedule. And this also has self-care things in it as well, but it's been really helpful. And it was like $24, and it's changed my life a little bit.
Good for you. That's amazing. So planner has been awesome. How about you, Deidre?
Mine is, I mean, everything that everybody else has said: planning, procrastination, scheduling. But if I could just, another thing that I wrote down is find a way around that obstacle. So whenever I bump up against a wall, instead of just like stopping and throwing my hands up and saying, finding a way around it. So I think if I could just stay determined and stay focused to climb it, break it down, go around it, whatever, find a way around that obstacle.
So do you mind sharing like what an obstacle might be?
For me, being derailed first thing in the morning, an emergency comes up, or I don't know, you get a phone call and somebody needs you to go do something, or they want to go see a house and it's during lead gen time. And then, oh, well, that day's shot now. So I won't lead gen, or the obstacle will be a block in my mind. I don't know who to call today. I don't know what to talk about today. I'm afraid of being told no today. My biggest thing for lead generation is open houses, and the market, the inventory is so low, open houses are snatched up like that. I don't have an open house lined up for this weekend. How am I going to lead generate? So I got to find other ways to find buyers. So those are all my obstacles, all my little monkeys, I guess, you know.
Yeah. And I think they're real. You know, I don't think you're, you know, making any of that up. I think it's real. So as we listen to that and we hear that, as a group of problem solvers, what do you feel, what would be the one thing then, and thank you for clarifying what the obstacles are, because there's a lot of them. What would be the one thing?
Have a plan. I just have a plan. Adjust my day accordingly. So, you know, protect the time. And it does fall back into what everybody has talked about. Scheduling, planning, you know, blocking for time. Don't let procrastination take over. You know that is one of my character flaws, I guess, and preparing for that, just, you know, being intentional with my time. So the one thing I guess would be just have a plan in place that no matter what happens, if there's an obstacle, I'm gonna knock it down, go around it, climb over it, whatever it is. Does that make sense?
It's perfect sense. And so when we hear that, when we hear have a plan in place, and then let's just rewind and let me see if I can, oops. Can see I'm out of my comfort zone here. I want to find this one. Okay, so right there. So I hear you, and I'm probably one of the worst. Like if I'm not in the mood to do it, getting me to do it. I mean, I'll work harder to not do something just because, you know, it's, you know, I'm stubborn. But when we look at this, and this was like, for me, the huge aha, and I'll share with you, like from a business perspective, how I've seen it work, that if 20% of your effort is going to result in 80% of your business, right? So let's just break that down to, let's just say an 8-hour day. In an 8-hour day, 20% of those 8 hours would be how much? We'll call it 2, and it's not even 2. It's like 1 hour and 40 minutes. So when we get up and we know we have the list and the schedule. So it sounds like kind of the resounding theme is we need schedule. And we also need maybe, I think the resounding theme is schedule. And what we're going to do in that schedule may be a little different for all of us. Lisa may be focusing on her processes. Courtney may be focusing on lead generation, you know, whatever that looks like. But 20% of that effort is going to be the bulk of your results. So when we get derailed, when we get up and we didn't get the start that we thought we were going to get that day, is there anything holding you back from being somewhat flexible with your schedule? Keller Williams World will tell you 9 to 12, 9 to 11, 8 to 11, whatever is your lead gen time. Nothing gets in the way of that. That doesn't really work for me. I'm just going to say it, and I'm just going to be honest about it, because I don't want you to think that you're imperfect or you're flawed or that you can't be successful if you don't adopt that. I admire the people who can. I don't live quite that rigidly. But I do know that if I have things to accomplish, I'm not leaving my desk, my office, my wherever it is until they're done. And so maybe just having that commitment that no matter what gets in the way, whatever was on that schedule is going to get done. The most important piece of that schedule is going to get done. Does that make sense? All right. So let's talk about lead generation. So when I came to Keller Williams, and again, mind you, I'd been my own broker for a long time. So I had, I don't think I was terribly different from anybody, but I don't love the telephone. I'm just going to say it. Okay. So making telephone calls for me is probably the most dreadful notion on the planet. Okay. And it's not because I don't like people. I love people. I mean, I would do this all day long. I'd go meet you in person all day long. I can text and email, but just something about being on the telephone I don't love. So I kind of had it in my head that, well, if I'm not going to do that, then I'm just going to acknowledge that I'm probably not going to do that. Then I had to come up with a plan of what I was going to do and what was going to work for me. And remember how we started, and I told you I didn't want, well, maybe I didn't say this here, but I don't want to get all ooky kooky, but energy just transfers, right? Energy doesn't die, it transfers, good energy and bad energy. So we might as well spend our time with good energy. Okay. So one of the things that I had to do was to set time aside to either handwrite a note to someone or send a personal text, not automated. And I'm fine with some things being automated, but I also know that this is a relationship business, right? And so I like to write cards. I like to send things. I just like that. And I find personally, this is going to sound ridiculous, I smile when I write the card because I think of the person. Every part of it is good energy. And just by the simple process of starting that, of sending cards to people either on holiday, their birthday, their home anniversary, whatever that looked like, all of a sudden the business started to come from additional sources related to those people. Okay. And it wasn't going to happen if I didn't find a way around. So Deidre, back to your point, that was the way around that obstacle for me, because I am stubborn and I'm not going to do it if you tell me I have to do it. So I'm going to find a different way. And that was my way. So this is what I want you guys to think about. Is there something that holds you back from reaching out to people you like, and who you're confident would want to do business with you? Is there anything that holds you back from doing that?
Well, I would say, like yourself, I am not big into making phone calls, and I don't love to get them. So
you don't like what?
I don't really like for people to call me that often. So for me to make cold calls or even calling people, it's not how I would want someone to contact me. So I am steering much more in the way of sending emails, texts, cameras, letters, those kinds of things, because people can choose when they want to read it, how they want to respond, instead of being pressured into a phone call.
I love it. I love it. Yep. Okay. So good. So that will be your way around maybe what people will say being that phone time. Now, don't get me wrong. I think there is a time and a place for the telephone. And I think there are certain clients we probably enjoy calling more than others, or people we enjoy calling more than others. But that's great. Does anybody else have a roadblock that they find that it's just hard to block that lead generation time, or what to do during that lead generation time?
Mine is kind of the same. I just don't want to feel like I'm bothering someone. I have to get the mindset that I'm coming with value and I have something to offer them. And if they're interested, great. If they're not, fine, but they still know where I stand.
Awesome. So let's talk about that then. What does that conversation, written, however you're presenting it, what does that look like? Oh, I think you're still muted, Lisa.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I don't know what that looks like. That's something it's just a continue conversation I have with myself.
Okay, so maybe we can brainstorm around that a little bit because it might be helpful for all of you to have something that's coming from contribution. So it sounds like you're good with your social media stuff. So you're bringing people something of value, right? Where everything we learn, I learn and hear about effective social media. It doesn't all have to be houses, right? It doesn't all have to be real estate related. People want to get to know you. They want to hear from you. So can anybody think of something that's really kind of something that could potentially save somebody a lot of money that you might be able to provide a good resource for them?
The interest rates right now. We Eric and I had a call this morning with the mortgage banker that she's amazing. She gave us some really good information and just things that she provides. And you could use that to call somebody in your sphere and just say, hey, checking in, Ford, do the whole Ford thing. And by the way, I don't know if you're interested right now or if you know anybody that's thinking about buying, but I just talked to a lender that has some really great first-time home buying assistant programs, or if you're interested in refinancing, I'd love to put you in contact, or I'd love to put in contact with that person. Can you help me out? So, I mean, it's one way I'm going to tackle my sphere this coming week is, using her as a resource. So
I love it. And wouldn't you be annoyed with your realtor friend if they didn't bring something like this to you?
Yeah, like why wouldn't you tell me that I could refinance my home and save money right now, or that my
Right.
neighbor's daughter who's renting an apartment, could get into a home for half as much as what she's renting. Maybe not quite that, but still.
Well, right. But at the end of the day, when you take property tax deductions, mortgage interest deductions, all of those things, it does have a profound net effect on somebody's cash outflow.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love it. So maybe in the idea that you're gonna have something brilliant daily, weekly, whatever, it probably won't happen. But that's one classic example that you could stay in front. And what else would you be doing in that process? So you're reaching your client, you're giving them valuable information. What's one other great thing that comes out of it?
The referral, hopefully.
But hopefully the referral, absolutely. What's the more immediate thing that might come out of it?
I mean, my thoughts are staying in front of them, but also just creating that relationship.
Yeah, building that trust.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you are washing the hand of your vendor partner, aren't you? Right? So almost the immediate thing might be that they get a piece of business that they wouldn't have otherwise had. Well, gee, don't you think that they're going to be posed with those opportunities down the road? Yep. Yep. Awesome. So I like coming to people with contribution. It's just the way I am personally wired. And so for me, I usually need to bring something of value. I need to, one of the things our team did last year was, before we knew the serious impact that COVID was going to have, we had St. Patrick's Day cards posted, prepared, and we sent everybody a little, St. Patrick's Day scratch off card. And ironically, the timing was perfect because people kind of needed a little lift and a little boost, but it was our way to also then follow up with the care call. Is everything okay with your family? Is there anything, my company is got great resources. We're here to help. So just kind of keep those things in mind. So the reason, guys, I'm sorry that I'm spending so much time on it, but I know personally, and I know from all the people that I've coached, the lead generation is the one thing that seems to stall people. And because it is a long game. It's not that it won't happen immediately. However, it is unlikely that you're going to make your 30 calls today or send your 30 texts or your 30 emails and have somebody raise their hand. You might, and that's awesome if you do. It is that consistency over time that will make the difference. So where I'm going with this is as we build your schedule for the things that must be done, sorry about that, as you build that schedule, I want you to be specific about how you're going to lead generate that day. Okay. And if it's not telephone calls, I'm okay with it. But if it's, and it might be getting on social media and doing some two-way messaging. It might be text messaging someone. It might be handwriting them a note or a card. It might be just simply going out and meeting somebody in the community you haven't met before. One of the things, and again, I'm just throwing ideas out there. One of the things that we started doing is because we understand that the restaurants have been, the most profoundly impacted with the coronavirus. We're doing Win It Wednesdays on our social media. And so it's a gift card to a local restaurant, and they can do takeout or save it for whenever. But that's the one hand washing the other kind of thing. We get people who follow us, who want to hear what we have to say. We get to help people in our community. And I like to give things away. So there we have it. So I just want you to be thinking about that when we're talking about lead generation. Does anybody else have an idea or an approach or something we haven't talked about that they've either heard about or that they'd like to use or that they are using successfully? I'll tell you one of my coaching clients who came as a brand new agent. She is doing probably 50% of her business right now from her social media posts. I mean, she's just really good at it, but she's consistent. So if that's something you want to do, consistency will be the key there. Okay. And she's not a social media, she's not the person who posts everything, right? About what they're having for dinner kind of person. She's just really consistent and great. And her name is Heather Gott. And if you want to follow her, you should, because you'll see she does awesome stuff and she's right in our market center.
Yeah, I've seen her grow over the past year. I mean, I see her on social media every day and everything that she posts is amazing. It's really good information. She definitely comes from a place of contribution. So yeah, I can attest to that.
100%. And it shines through in her post, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. She's a really good, nice person. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love because she can be self-deprecating at times. I mean, she just comes from such a good place, and people that she doesn't know are reaching out to her now because they've been following her and they love what she has to say. And some of it's real estate related and some of it's just, whatever. But just kind of keep that in mind. That is a longer game. That's a real steady, slow build, but it's a valuable one. Okay. Has anybody seen or heard of this amazing document called the 411? No? Yes, I know Deidre has.
I haven't seen this document, but literally on Monday wrote out my goals, and it was annual, monthly, and weekly. So kind of same concept.
Well, that's exactly what this is. And we have this document, which is the 411 stands for 4 weeks, every month, and a year. Okay, so 411. And each month you will work this sheet. And I believe you'll have it in your materials. If you don't, I'm happy to make sure you guys all have blank ones of these to work on. But what's really great is, first of all, your annual goal stays in front of you all of the time. And then you get to break it down to your month, because we know that it's likely that you're going to, you might have a notion in January that you're going to do something and that it's going to be awesome and you can't wait to get started. And by March or April, it just wasn't as good of an idea and you might need to shift gears a little bit, right? So this allows you some flexibility in your plan. But when I say that, I don't encourage you to be jumping around too much. I just think you'll know whether this idea that you had to do something, either you're not executing it or it just maybe wasn't the best idea. This will allow you the flexibility to tweak the plan. So writing your annual goal is going to be the obvious, and that's going to carry over, month to month, and it might increase. You might blow your goal out of the water in July and know that you're going to increase the goal, because we definitely don't want you to take your foot off the gas pedal. And then you've got your month. But the key here is in these weekly goals. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about what this looks like. So if I know that I need to, I'm looking at a goal planning sheet that I did with someone else, and they had a few key areas that they were going to focus on for 2021. One was going to be their database, right? And I could talk for hours about this, but I'll spare you guys that. We know that your database is going to bring you the biggest return of anything you do. Okay. And typically you can expect 6% return on your database. So if you have 200 people in your database, 6% of them are going to be up for grabs, right, to buy or sell this year. They, or perhaps someone they know. That's 12. We know that in our market center, it's going to look closer to somewhere between 18 and 20 transactions to get to that 100,000 mark. How many of you have your database in command right now? Okay. If you don't, I do hope that that is number one priority, because that's going to be where you track everything that you're doing. Who here can share with me how many people they have in their database?
I have 200.
Awesome.
I think I have 134.
That's awesome, Deidre. That's a huge increase, and especially from my gal not from Ohio. That's great.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I haven't quite finished my database, but I've got about 100 right now.
Okay.
Probably
Awesome.
Mine's still a work in progress too, but I'm looking around 100 to 150.
Okay. And so let's just make one thing kind of known. All of our databases are a work in progress. They're never done. Okay. They're never going to be done. And if they are done, then we're probably done. Okay. Because we should be adding and feeding to our database all the time. So what I'm going to encourage you guys to do is one thing in your lead generation. Okay. Think of lead generation in a couple different ways now. One of them is going to be growing your database, adding people to your database. So whatever that looks like, if your goal is to sell 15 houses, then we better have a database that's around 250 to 300 people, right? So you'll know the gap. You'll know how many you have and how many you need. Now we should be building a goal of how many people we add to our database. How do we add to our database? I think there's two ways. One, I think there's a whole bunch of people that should be in your database that you don't have in your database, right? You just, for whatever reason, they're not in your database, but they're people you know, you like, you do business with, you've met in the community. They're your neighbors, they're your family, they're your friends. I know every one of you can be to that 200 level in short order, but it takes some brain power. What's the other way that you add to your database?
I had people from open houses, the sign-in sheets, because that's, those are people you're going to want to follow up with, put them on smart plans. So that's a fast way to get it built up.
Absolutely. And the cool thing in Command is you'll tag those people as open house, right? And you might even create tags like price point tags too. Like if you're doing an open house that's 250,000, maybe you make a note somewhere of that. And those are the same people who are going to love knowing where the interest rates are, love knowing what new programs are out there for first-time home buyers, right? There's just going to be, you're going to start thinking about this more like a business and less like, you know, this opportunity that I got someone now. No, now it's about how am I communicating with all of my people all the time. So my pipeline is always filled with people who want to move forward in the real estate process. Okay. So your weekly goal, I'm just going to tell all of you, I'm sorry, you're getting no choice in this one. You must include grow your database. Figure out what the gap is. Use that 6% number. And your lead generation will come from communicating with your database. How about other ways that you guys intend to, Deidre, you mentioned open houses. Does anybody else intend to use open houses as an opportunity to meet people? Okay, so in week 1, I'm just going to give you an example. It might say, add 10 people to my database. Okay, and they might actually be people I already know. So we might have some easy weeks where we're just using our brain power and finding people that should have been in there that aren't. And it might be host 1 open house, okay? And maybe it is going to be creating a system that I need to have in place, working, spend 3 hours on system implementation. How many of you are script practicing and role playing regularly? Okay, good, Deidre.
It's on our schedule. So we actually scheduled that. And so, yeah, we will be.
Okay.
Couple of us who've been on all of these calls are getting together next week to start doing the script. And then we're going to start doing house previews as well together.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. You guys, it is the single most important thing you can do. We know it up here, right? You understand it. Has anybody ever studied a foreign language here?
Yes.
Yeah. I studied Spanish in high school and college, and then I had the opportunity in college to go to Spain. And while we went with other classmates, we moved in with Spanish families who did not speak English, by the way, at all. So I could understand them. I could read my textbooks and things. The hardest thing was speaking it. And the only way to learn how to speak fluently was to practice, right? It was to practice. And they were forgiving, and we basically script practiced and role played. And that's what I need you guys to do with all of your presentations. And I need you to think about that for objection handlers. Where do you get fumbled up? Okay, what is one thing you always want to be able to have a comeback for? Just right there in smooth as silk. So think about those things. And when you are script practicing and role playing with others, don't roll over all the time. Don't give them the appointment immediately. Okay, you got to work for it. This is the safe zone. Nothing bad can happen here. This is where you're with your friends and you're learning how to grow. So script practice and role play should certainly be one of the key items that you guys are working on. What else would you maybe see in that you put in the first week? That should be in every week. But what else can you think about?
Setting goals for making appointments. I mean,
yep. So that's lead generate, right?
Yeah. Let's see.
So
notes.
maybe your weekly goal will be to set how many appointments, set number of appointments.
Yeah. We have a specific number that we set to try to hit.
Okay. Awesome. That's fantastic. Add to database. I'm just giving you ideas. It doesn't have to look like this. Add to database, host open house, post social media,
Mhm.
script practice and role play, so if you set those goals in there, okay, and lead generate should be specific. So lead generate for however many hours, 10 hours, 6 hours, 12 hours, whatever it is. And you're going to be the one who kind of has to hold yourself accountable to that. And I love Deidre's notion of setting appointments. Okay, so maybe it's set 3 appointments. Well, when we go to complete our 411 for the month of January, we only are filling in week 1's goals. And why is that? It's because anything we don't get done in week 1, we get to carry forward to week 2. So if my goal was to set 3 appointments and I only set 1, well, how many appointments do I need to set in week 2? 5, right? Because all of this is for the purpose of hitting the monthly goal. And by hitting the monthly goal, we hit the annual goal. And so if my goal was to lead generate for 12 hours and I only got 10 hours in, then those 2 hours carried forward to the following week. If my goal was to host an open house and I was unsuccessful, maybe my monthly goal is to hold 3. So maybe I get a week where it's kind of a gimme, you know, if I can't find one, it's no big deal. But in the event that that's not the case, then I've got to find 2 open houses next week, right? So what does this cause? What will this cause you to do?
To be proactive.
Yeah,
For the
you're
following
going to be
week.
proactive and you're going to be resourceful.
Mhm.
What is the best way to have consistent open houses?
I reach out to, oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I would say I just reach out to agents first thing on the Market Center. I think, Lisa, you do it too. I see you post,
Yeah, I was gonna
right?
say, you and I have been pretty consistent
Yeah.
the last few weeks looking.
We're like, hey.
I feel like I'm like this eagle that's like looking, you know. I just keep swarming around.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yep. So you're building relationships with people, right? So you'll be their go-to person. What's the most surefire way to be able to host regular open houses?
Have your own listing.
Have a listing.
Yeah. Go get listings. Don't ever give up that opportunity to host the open house. Resist that urge to know that it's going to sell if you put it on the market on Wednesday, that it's going to be in contract by Friday. Just resist that urge, not only for your benefit, but for your seller's benefit. Okay. So host the open house. Host the open house if it's in contract and your client wants a backup offer. Okay. And maybe there are some of those out there. I'm going to encourage you all, though, in addition to the emails, take the time to build the relationships with people. Because I know for me to give my listings away to other people to host open houses, I need to know them, right? I'm very protective of my clients and my listings. I need to know who's showing up. I need to make sure that they've set certain metrics. Have you guys thought about preparing a little resume for yourself about what you'll do for every open house? You might want to do that. That's all part of marketing and lead generating, isn't it? For even within the Market Center. So I guess what I'd really like to, before we go to the ahas here, what I'd like you guys to think about and I'd like to close on is getting used to the notion of everything you do going over and above what was expected. Because there are lots of average agents out there. Okay. And average agents can still make a really good living. But if you want this to be a career and you want this to be a business that you are excited about every single day, just go over and above. Who cares? Who cares if it costs you a little bit more time and a little bit more money? What do you have right now? You've got time, right? When you're hosting an open house, what are you doing differently? How are you setting yourself apart from anybody else? Any thoughts on that? Are you creating, do you have a chart in there that shows people the cost of money? You know, at the interest rate at 2.5% on a 30-year, that's going to cost you $4 a month over 30 years. You know, these are things, educate people, give them something. Go to Walmart and get the 99-cent hand sanitizers and a free mask and put it in a brown paper bag with branded to you to hand to people. You know, leave a mark. I know I'm asking you to spend money. I bet you could find somebody who would partner with you. I bet you could find a title company who would give you the hand sanitizer, you know, but just go and step out of what you think you need to do and turn the table and say, what would wow me if I walked into an open house? What would make me say, I've not seen that before. I want to work with that person. So that's just what I want you guys to think about as you build this business. And so as you work on your goals, know that we're carrying anything we didn't get done this week to the following week. But anything that's worthy of going on this sheet needs to be something that's going to move you to income production, right? So having systems and creating your smart plans and things like that is definitely one of those things, because it's going to allow you to communicate with your database on a consistent basis. And I think that's super, super important. There will be some things, however, that aren't going to necessarily be completely income producing activities or activities that will lead to income production. They can certainly be on here, but what I'm really looking for are those things that you're going to do that are going to generate clients. What are your ahas?
I think for me, take whatever you set as your goals and do it 1% better. Just aim a little bit higher. Do whatever you can to set yourself apart. Like, set standards for yourself that's like up here always, and adhere to that always. Show up 110%.
I love that. Anybody else?
I think it's going back to the one quote, but basically you can do anything that you set your mind to. And I know that's not exactly the quote, but just you have everything that you need right here. You don't have to be Amy Jo who sells $10 billion worth of real estate. You can start here with yourself. And if you set your mind to it and you put these processes in place, you can achieve what you want and what you desire. So I think if you hold on to that, you can be successful.
I love it.
That's my
I
thought.
love it. That's 100%. And I think that's so much of the appeal of this business is your businesses will look different than my business, you know, for whatever reason. And that's the beautiful thing about it. But the one thing I hope we all keep in common is that what we deliver is always, you know, to your point, Erica, and Deidre's point, is always that much better than somebody else's value proposition. How about you, Lisa?
I think a big thing is doing things that hold myself accountable. You know, all of those things that we listed for weekly, monthly, yearly, that is huge in keeping yourself accountable, because being quote unquote self-employed, we don't have anyone that's saying you need to do this, you need to do that, and this is the expectation that I'm setting for you. It needs to be an expectation that we're setting for ourselves.
Yes. It changes your mindset, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when you've got a stubborn mindset like mine, that when I just make up my mind I'm going to do it, it's a whole different outcome than when somebody's standing over me asking me how many calls I made that day. Right. So good. That's good for you. But knowing that you have to have the plan and you have to work the plan. How about you, Courtney?
I really liked the 411 breakdown. I think it was kind of helpful for me to see it that way and to establish the weekly goals, and you can kind of go back and tweak what those goals were based on how much you've accomplished, also what you've learned from accomplishing the smaller weekly goals.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's and the thing with this business is there's just so much to learn that the surest way to learn it is just by doing it, and get over some of those script practice stumbling blocks. One of the things I'm working with the leadership team in the ALC to see what we can do as a market center to have some more script practice and to have some, I don't know that I want to say higher level, but things that like people who've been out in the field and some of the stuff we're coming up against, like how do we get over that? And rather than just necessarily some of the scripts that they give us to practice, which are great, don't get me wrong, but also to get you, prepared for some other more challenging things. So I'm just going to share some of the things that that KW will tell you. And if you did this, and I'm sure you guys have seen this already, because this is just a classic recipe for success in our business. If you do this regularly, I mean, just hands down regularly, again, this is the formula for success: consistency. Add your contacts, have conversations, write notes to people, and preview homes. And you all understand like why previewing the homes is so important. Yeah, just knowing what to expect, having the confidence to get into them, seeing what's out there. So when you're having conversations with people, you are the expert that they expect you to be. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for participating today. I'm really excited for your careers. It is, I mean, I'm stuck. It's been 27 or 28 years, and so I'm not going anywhere. It's been the best thing ever. And again, I'm a resource for all of you. If I can help you, if you've got questions, please feel free to reach out to me. If any of you are interested in learning about how to invest in real estate and how to build wealth that way, I'd love to help any way I can. You're on the front line. You see the deals before anybody else does. So it's always a good idea to have multiple streams of revenue. So we'll talk about that another time. But thank you for being here. Do you guys have any questions for me, either relating to the course or just out of curiosity on a personal level? Well, then go get some lunch, would you?
Thanks, Mary.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Nice meeting you guys. And thanks for being here. And I hope to see you around soon.
Yes, thank you for everything today. It was great.
My pleasure. So actually, one last thing, write this down. By the end of the week, get me your goals. let me know which book would be of most interest to you. So it's Mary Sunderman, MarySunderman @kw.com. Goals, action plan, and book that you'd like. The one thing, the MREA investor, you let me know and it'll be yours.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
right.
again.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Have a great day.
You
You
too.
too.